My name is Dr. Owen Lenihan, and the title of my paper is A Social Network Analysis of Antifa on Twitter. Since the election of Donald Trump in 2016 and the Brexit vote in Britain, there's been an upsurge of violence by Antifa, and yet, in public discourse, there's not a great deal known about who or what they are. Discussions about Antifa are often partisan, but this recent quote by German SPD co-chair Saskia Esken is representative of how Antifa is legitimized in public discourse. She stated, "Antifa is not an organisation. Anti-fascism is a point of view which all Democrats should obviously support. Let's break this statement into its two component sentences. The second states that anti-fascism is a point of view which all Democrats should obviously support. This isn't controversial, of course. Everyone, well, except fascists, are anti-fascist. However, if we look at the first sentence, Antifa is not an organisation. Well, Esken is, consciously or unconsciously, conflating two very different things. Anti-fascism is a point of view. Antifa is a group one must self-select into. That Antifa is not an organisation is commonly stated. However, is it correct? This study aims to find out. The aim of this paper is to determine how Antifa is organised on Twitter. I will touch on two elements: Antifa as an organisation, and how it is that that organisation organises itself using Twitter. This paper uses a social network analysis to determine the political ideologies that drive the network. It will classify and identify violent actors within the network, and it will assess the influence violent actors have on the wider Antifa network. As stated, in this study a social network analysis was employed. Simply put, social network analysis is a quantitative methodology that allows for statistical and graphic presentation of human interactions within complex networks. This method has been successfully employed in the field of extremism studies, but it has mainly been used to dissect the network structures of ISIS and the far right. In this study, linguistic analysis, graph theory, K-chord generation were employed to provide a suitable data set which was analysed using common social network analysis metrics. Graph theory is a mathematical representation of a complex network where actors, or in our case individual Antifa accounts, are represented as nodes or dots on a graph, and the relationship between them are called vertices or edges. That just simply tells us who follows who within the Antifa network. Scripts written in Python programming language were used to graph the Antifa network. The follows and following of 16 prominent self-identifying Antifa accounts on Twitter were gathered and used to populate a graph. It was important that these 16 self-identified as Antifa. In this study, self-identifying Antifa refers to any official Antifa accounts, like New York City Antifa, which is the largest Antifa account on Twitter. It also includes those accounts using Antifa iconography in their profile photo. It also refers to Antifa images in the banner. Further, others had self-identifying text in their biography. To briefly touch on my opening, this is Antifa as an organisation. They are easily identifiable from their use of icons that have their roots in the Stalinist KDP in Weimar, Germany. Some experts state that Antifa groups are highly autonomous and singularly focused on anti-fascism, meaning that they do not qualify as extremist organisations. However, it is possible to identify deeper political motivations and connections once a useful graph is built. Having gathered the follows and followers of the C16 Antifa accounts, a graph was created which contained 58,254 nodes. Using K-chord decomposition, this graph was reduced to 1.65%, leaving only the most connected nodes within the network. Reducing the graph removed those accounts who may be supportive of Antifa or even members of Antifa, but whose topographical position away from the core of the network means that they are not very influential. When reduced to 1.65%, the Antifa network graph contained 962 nodes. Importantly, it left a graph that was sufficiently well populated to allow an analysis of Antifa's core network structure and how all parts of that network interact. A linguistic analysis model was developed to allow for the classification of actors in the Antifa network as either cognitive extremist or violent extremist. For this step, Berger's definition of extremism was used as a guide. Again, Using Python, a bag of words model was created. A bag of words is a simple natural language processing method that allows for word extraction from masses of text. By applying a weighting to each word or term in the bag of words, it was possible to classify appropriate Antifa accounts as violent extremist or cognitive extremist. This is what the bag of words looks like as a Python string. To the results then. Having built a network graph, it was possible to visualize the heart of the Antifa network on Twitter using Gephi. On this graph, the most violent actors in the network are ranked from least to most violent, from light green to dark green, and by node size from smallest node size to largest. The tweets of every actor in the network were archived, resulting in an archive of 4.3 million unique tweets. This was then queried with the bag of words, resulting in 32.5% of the network being classified as violent extremists. Taking the top 100 most violent Antifa accounts and querying their biography information, it was found that violence in the network is overwhelmingly driven by self-identifying anarchists. In fact, 47% of the top 100 most violent Antifa accounts self-identified as anarchists. A further 6% identified as either anarcho-communists or anarcho-socialists. It can then be stated that violence within the Antifa network is overwhelmingly driven by anarchists. To return to the intro and Antifa as organised, well, having identified the violent actors in the Antifa network, it is possible to identify their role in the wider network using SNA metrics. By ranking the top nodes in the Antifa network and applying SNA metrics, it is possible to identify the network structure of the group. 3 commonly used centrality measures are degree, eigenvector and in-degree centralities, and they tell us who are the most popular in the network. In-degree measures the number of followers one has, eigenvector measures nodes based on their connection to other influential nodes. More interesting in giving insight into the daily functioning of the network is betweenness centrality and closeness centrality. Betweenness centrality tells us who controls the flow of information in the network, and closeness centrality tells us who the most efficient spreaders of information are. In this study, it was found that anarchists played a vital role in controlling the flow and the efficient flow of information within the Antifa network. 5 of the top 10 ranked actors for closeness centrality were anarchists. To see how these measures affect the Antifa network structure, the graph was divided into 4 naturally occurring subcommunities using a modularity class function. Of these communities, 2 stood out, Community A and B. While these 2 communities contain only 1/3 of the population of the entire network, they contain almost 60% of the top 100 most violent actors in the Antifa network. These communities tell a great deal about how Antifa is organised on Twitter. Because of time constraints, I will look at only one, Community A. This is Community A. It is disproportionately violent and can rightly be called the engine room of violence within the Antifa network. This is subcommunity A, the most important subcommunity in the entire Antifa network. Highlighted, you can see 3 of the top 10 accounts for betweenness centrality. Each of these nodes have multiple direct links to the largest official Antifa accounts in the network, and they play a crucial role in quickly bringing information from these accounts to the periphery of the network and vice versa. High reciprocity between these Community A accounts and the top 10 accounts for betweenness centrality, that means almost all are mutual followers, ensures that within Community A there are multiple access points to the core of the network, meaning that this community's message spreads quicker and more efficiently than any other part of the network. It also means that more than any other part of the network, they can drive discourse. The most violent few can disproportionately influence the whole. As a concrete example, this is prominent Antifa doxer Antifash Gordon, who is currently in federal court for his activities. In this tweet, he's asking for the docs or the personal information of this individual and asks his followers to DM that info. This tweet is then signal boosted by New York City Antifa, and in one step, it has reached a wider Antifa network. If anyone is able to provide that information, they will send it to Antifash Gordon, who will tweet it out, and again, New York City Antifa and all the others in the top 10 for betweenness centrality will tweet that out, ensuring that the local Antifa group in this individual's area sees it and can begin to harass or harm him. This leads us to one of the most significant insights in how Antifa is organised on Twitter. Among official Antifa accounts, there is high reciprocity no matter how remote they may be on the network. Central to this is the account Antifa Checker. In fact, in many respects, this is the most important account in the entire network. The function of this account is to vet and verify those accounts claiming to be official representatives of a district. Take North New Jersey Antifa. They have a small following and are peripheral in the network. They will contact Antifa Checker or vice versa and will be expected to provide proof of who they are. If they pass vetting, Antifa Checker signal boosts them to the wider network, and this account is followed by all of the major Antifa accounts. This means that North New Jersey Antifa now have direct access to the entire Antifa network to spread their message, and, despite their small following, they are guaranteed a national and international platform when they need it. This means that thanks to a sophisticated vetting network and high reciprocity, official Antifa groups, no matter how small, have direct access to the entire network. In this way, Antifa builds a national and international network for the high-speed spread of information. Antifa on Twitter are organised and disciplined. To return to my introduction then, Antifa is both an organisation and it is organised. It is the conclusion of this paper that Antifa on Twitter is a highly organised network that prioritises violence and is driven by anarchist actors and principles. Thank you very much.